Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Carleton University's March Open House series. We are absolutely thrilled that you took the time and energy to come and join us today to learn more about Carleton University here on the traditional unceded territories of the Algonquin Nation in the nation's capital in Ottawa, Ontario. My name is Jaleel Alab, and I'm a recruitment coordinator here at Carleton University. Just to let you folks know a little bit more about the AirMeet platform that we're going to be using today, you'll notice that on your right-hand side, you have the chat area where we will be posting some important links or information for you. If any of you folks have questions at any time, do feel free to let us know in the Q&A tab, again, on the right-hand side of your screen that says Q&A, and hopefully Jillian and myself will be able to answer your questions as we're going through. Speaking of Jillian, she is the Criminology Society's exec, who is also a student in the program right now in her third year, and she'll tell you a bit more information about herself as we're going through. The format of today's presentation is that we're going to have a video from the professors of the criminology program that we're going to play for you folks. And then afterwards, Jillian will be sharing her experiences. And if you have any questions at all, do feel free to hit that Q&A button and we'll definitely get all the information for you. So if you wanted to know more about criminology, this is it, guilty as charged. Without further ado, I'll just go ahead and play the video for you folks. Here we go.
Hi there, hello and welcome. My name is Jeff Monahan. I'm a prof at the Institute of Criminology and Criminal Justice here at Carleton University. So welcome to our virtual open house and to the ICCJ, which is our acronym, the Institute of Criminology and Criminal Justice. So welcome to our information session. I apologize that I couldn't be here in person to chat with you, but there are a bunch of folks here today that can help out with all kinds of questions that you might have, from admissions to scholarships to our student representative who is here to answer all kinds of questions without the professor around about our classes, about the Carleton experience more broadly. So I just have a couple of welcoming messages for you. You can find out all kinds of information from our website, which is the Criminology website at Carleton. You can see what we're all about. You can check out our classes, our course outlines. You can see some faculty profiles. You can see the kind of events that we've been holding, even the last year or so while we've been mostly remote. We're back in the classroom now, which is great. We're hybrid now, but we'll be back in the classroom in the fall, hopefully. I don't know if that's official, but that's our hopes. So you can check out, a lot online, but I'd like to tell you a little bit about the program and about criminology more broadly, just to get us started here today. If you do have any questions about any of this comments that I'm making, or any questions that arise during the day, you can reach me anytime. It's jeffrey.monahan@carleton.ca. I think you can see my name down here, right there. Just put a dot in the middle there, at carleton.ca. I'm happy to arrange a private Zoom or chat on the phone or whatever you'd like if you have specific questions. So please get in touch. So one more thing I'd like to add. On March 31st, the undergrad recruitment office and our staff person here at Carleton, Ashley Reed, has organized a mock lecture. So if you want to see what a crim class is like and a little bit of content, March 31st, you can sign up for the mock lecture. And it's a bit of a Q&A too. We talk a bit more about the program. So if you're really thirsting for more information, check that out, March 31st. Talk to Ashley Reed or the undergrad recruitment office. So let me just set the stage a little bit here for today. There's two things I'd like to talk about quickly. One is, what the heck is criminology? What do we do, and why do we like doing it? What draws us to the field, the discipline of criminology? And two, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the unique aspects of our program, which are, I think, important takeaways to help you navigate these difficult decisions about where you want to at least start your university journey. So I think it's practical information that you can leave with from today. Let me start by talking about criminology. So criminology is a discipline that looks at the structured approach to understanding crime and society. There are different disciplinary elements of criminology itself. It's not a clear discipline. It is a multidisciplinary undertaking because the talk about crime and the research and studying of crime really takes tools from all of these disciplines. And you can look at the really kind of classic disciplines, whether it's history, whether it's psychology, whether it's sociology, political science, law, and also more contemporary disciplines like gender studies, critical race theory, indigenous studies, and different post-structural theory in general, all kinds of different ways to understand crime and society. So we talk about crime and society in a general way. There's really three major ways in which criminological research is organized. There is criminological research that is focused on individuals. So that's the idea of individual abnormality, individual offending, individual explanations of why people do shitty things. There is another kind of school of research, which is really about the study of crime. And that can be crime on the books or crime as a form of social harm, or how the law and crime operate in society from either an instrumental kind of way of looking at it, or looking at it in terms of a policy and practices understanding, or looking at it in terms of the creation of law and how law can regulate crime as a form of social harm. So that's another big container of how we study and talk about crime. And then there's another container, which is often characterized as the study of criminalization. And the study of criminalization is an understanding that crime is often contextual in the way that criminalization happens. It is discretionary. Certain people are more at risk of criminalization. Crime and crime governance happens in a theater society that is structured by power relations, and that criminalization itself is an expression of these power relations. So these are three big ways in which criminology and most criminological studies kind of fit. And then, of course, there's also the other subdisciplines like cultural studies and communication studies and crime in the media and all kinds of stuff. So you'll see that reflected in our classes. You'll see that reflected in a lot of our different approaches to studying crime. And certainly one of the key takeaways of our program is that we have a very broad design for our program. For us, criminology is big tent criminology. It is not just about criminality and the criminals, which is really just that singular focus. You'll find that in psychology often, where crime is really about individuals. For us, crime is not only about individuals, but it is also about the social constructs, the social theaters or atmosphere, society in which crime talk, crime governance takes place. So we think of this as a really broad understanding of crime, social harm, inequality, social justice, and the various ways that crime intersects with governance and society. So it is a big tent approach to crime and the study of crime and criminality and criminalization, which is a bit distinct than a lot of other programs. Some programs are a little bit narrower. We like to think of ourselves as a broader approach to these questions. Now, my second introductory remark is about our program. We have a unique program design. We are not structured as a traditional department structure that most of the programs that you're probably looking at in terms of your university career are structured like. Normally you're in an English department, or you're in a criminology department or engineering department, and you're taking a core corridor of those classes. We do not have that corridor model. We have a multidisciplinary model. So we have 4 key components to our model. So if you're a crim student, you take crim classes, you take psych classes, you take sociology classes, and you take law classes. And all of those classes provide a kind of disciplinary look of law and crime, of sociology and crime, of psych and crime, and then of course there's your criminology classes. I was worried I'm going to give a finger there or something. So our model is bringing in this multidisciplinary approach to provide disciplinary, we call sometimes epistemic, different ways of thinking and developing knowledge about crime and society from these different disciplinary vantage points. This is a unique model. A lot of programs, like I said, you're in the stream and you're kind of in a more confined and structured approach to studying certain types of disciplinary objects. In our system, it's a bit looser. You're traveling into different disciplines and you're really using different ways of generating knowledge, different sets of tools and research methods, and definitely different types of research literature. You read much different stuff. And you're kind of approaching crime from, in some ways, competing perspectives. And we'd like to think of it developing a broader understanding of the various ways we research and talk about crime. So this kind of four-pillar model is unique, and it is unlike other crim programs. There are advantages and disadvantages. I won't necessarily go through them, but I'll put that upon you to look into. It does, one of the key aspects of difference, it does make us we're a big program. So some folks like big programs, some folks like small programs, but I just wanted to put it out there as one of the key characteristics of our program. We do have about 1,700 students in our program. It does mean that you are in a big cohort, and there's all kinds of ways to find community at Carleton and in our program, but it's not necessarily like some programs. Some of my experience at university where you're in a really small cohort, it's a bit like small town. You're really with people for 4 years. Our program's more like the big city. You're in the big city, you get to pick and choose, who you hang out with and where you fit in and whatnot. And it's a little bit less forced upon you. It's up to you to kind of make those decisions. So the disadvantage being is that, it's a bit like a big city. You got to find your own way, and you need to, have your Google map and all of that things yourself, and you can't just rely on others. So with that, I'll hand it off to our hosts today. So again, my name is Jeff Monahan. My apologies for not being here in person. More than happy to set up some Zooms or some calls with you folks. My email is on our website, jeffrey.monahan@carleton.ca. Happy to chat with you. I know these are big decisions, so all the best with that. I hope we can provide as much info that we can to help you make these big decisions. Carleton is a lovely school. It's a lovely campus. We're going to be back at it next year, fully on campus, and I hope to see you on campus and bringing this energy to our school next year. So hope to hear from you. If not, take care and have a great day.
Awesome. So that was our presentation from Professor Monahan. You folks are really lucky today because you get to hear not only from the professors explaining, but we have a real live student in the studio right now, Jillian. I gave you some information about her background, but I'll let Jillian go ahead and really share your own experiences with all the folks today, kind of wondering if criminology is the one for them.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for coming here today and taking interest in our program. I'm very excited. I know I really wish it was in person, but I'm still excited to see people getting excited about this program. Like Jaleel said, my name is Jill. I am a third-year criminology and criminal justice student here at Carleton. I have a concentration in sociology, and I have a minor in Canadian studies. And I don't know if we're going to go into this a little bit later, but when you're taking this program, there's three different, concentrations, and you don't have to necessarily decide in first year. You're kind of expected to kind of narrow it down by the end of first year, but you can decide right away, but you're always welcome to change it as well. So there's three different concentrations, which are kind of like streams. There's law, there's sociology, and there's psychology. So like Jeff mentioned in the video, those are kind of three of the key disciplines that our program kind of draws from, which is why they're kind of streamlined the way that they are. So I am in a concentration of sociology. I applied originally And like I said, you don't need to apply with a concentration. I did because I thought I had to. So I'm here to tell you don't have to. Not until the end of first year. But I applied originally with a concentration in law. I got 1 week into my first law class, and I realized that it just wasn't necessarily for me, which is rich, I guess, coming from me because I am looking now to go to law school. So people change, and you'll definitely be making a lot of changes throughout your university career. But yeah, so I switched into Soc. I think, yeah, definitely the path for me, I guess, in terms of undergraduate degrees. I didn't want to kind of law myself out, if that makes sense. Law school, which is where I'm planning to go, hopefully, when I graduate, is completely just law classes, right? So I didn't want to spend 4 years in my undergrad doing law classes and then spend another 3 doing law classes and then spend the rest of my life doing it. So yeah, if you're interested in law school, this program definitely helps a little bit, but don't feel pressured into doing either the law major or the law concentration or even a law minor. It's not necessary, but if that's what you're interested in, go for it. Yeah, and then we also have our psych stream. First year crim, you're going to take a lot of mandatory classes. I don't know if any of you have looked maybe at the kind of differences between our program and like other arts programs we have here. But crim has 7 required courses out of 10. So there's not a ton of wiggle room, unfortunately, but that is because, yeah, so we'll be pulling up the first year course selection guide later on. But that's because you're not expected to know what you want to do yet, right? So everybody in each of the streams takes all the same classes. You're going to take Law 1, Law 2, Psych 1, Psych 2, Soc 1, Soc 2, and then you're going to take Crim. And then you have 3 electives. Speaking of electives, you're going to have a ton more electives as you go on, compared to other programs where you have like 8 electives first year. Like I said, we only have 3, but don't let that worry you because you'll have a ton of elective space later. And if you're like me and the choice kind of freaks you out, you're always welcome to pick a minor, which is what I did to kind of like hone in kind of what electives I was picking. So that led me to Canadian studies, which for those of you who like aren't super familiar with it, it's basically like Indigenous studies, but like looking at like the broader context of like all of Canada. So looking at like, I guess like both sides of the issue, talking a lot about like how can we, make Canada a better place and stuff like that. So I find it really interesting because we're in the heart of the country. We're in Ottawa, so it's a really good spot to be doing that kind of thing. So that's what I chose to do. And I believe it goes on your diploma when you graduate with a minor. So you're always welcome to do that as well. In fact, I recommend it because I know in the video, Jeff was talking about how it can kind of feel sometimes like the class sizes are huge, right? I was shocked hearing, I didn't know we had 1,600 students. So yeah, our program's a pretty big one. And I guess from my experience, like the crim classes I've been in were like 300, 400. Like I have a mandatory forensic psych class right now that has like 400 people in it. And it's online because we can't have 400 people in a lecture hall right now. But electives, and minors are kind of where you can get that smaller class experience. So Canadian studies is a relatively small discipline, and it gets grouped together a lot with Indigenous studies. And I'm in a Canadian studies class right now that has like 19 people in it, including the prof. So it's actually really nice because I can really get to know the people who are in my class instead of feeling like just one of hundreds, which is nice. Yeah, that's kind of all I have in terms of, I guess, like the degree. I guess in why I picked Carleton, if anybody's interested, and like I can elaborate on this later if you guys are like have any questions you want to ask. I picked Carleton. Well, first I'll go into why I picked Crim. So it's kind of a funny story. Grade 12, I literally had no idea what I wanted to do. In grade 11, I was like, I'm gonna go into genetic life sciences. I don't know why. I didn't like science. So I was like, that's not the decision for me. And then time was ticking. I was like, I got to pick something. And I just read up on a bunch of different programs and I saw that a couple schools offered criminology. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I like to read books on that sometimes and like stuff like that. So I picked it on a whim. Every school I applied to either their crim program or something very similar like Soc or history. And I was just like, hopefully I like it. So good thing I did. I didn't have to switch. But also, if you feel like you have to switch your major, I'm here to tell you that is not a problem at all. Don't feel like you're ever trapped in like a major or a minor, even a school. You have all the time in the world to switch. So don't let that freak you out too much. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to criminology. And I applied to 5 different schools. I applied to Queen's History, Western Criminology, Ryerson Criminology, Guelph Criminology, and then Carleton Criminology. I got into all 5. And I was faced with the decision, like, where do I go, right? And the reason I picked Carleton Crim, first of all, the location. It's a really great spot, especially for the field placement element that you can do when you're in 3rd year or 4th year. I haven't done it yet. I'm in 3rd year, but I'm applying to it for 4th year. So fingers crossed that I get that. But it's a really great spot because where's all the law stuff? Where's all the correctional stuff? It's all here, right? It's Ottawa. So that's a really good kind of like maybe thing to base your decision off of. I also liked, I guess, like, it's pretty in depth. I feel like a lot of other schools, criminology is kind of like a branch of something else. So it's either a branch of law or it's a branch like Western. It was like a branch of sociology. So the fact that it was really like a very detailed crim program also really got me. And then also like the ability to get involved. There's definitely like a big kind of like student life focus here, which I really appreciate. I've gotten involved in like a ton of different things. So that's, really nice that you're able to not just focus solely on school. I know I'm here to kind of talk about school, but you're going to want to do some other things too besides just classes. So that's what kind of made me, I guess, pick. Also, we have pretty good scholarships. I can't lie. I got the $4,000 a year scholarship, which is nowhere close to what other people were offering me. So I definitely, that maybe pushed me a little bit. And then in terms of getting involved, I've gotten involved in a ton of different things. I really appreciate Carleton because it's pretty easy to get involved and there's a lot of different things. Like we mentioned earlier, I'm one of the executive members of the Carleton Criminology and Criminal Justice Society. I'm wearing my little crim sweater, which if you guys are interested, it's not society specific. It just says Carleton University Criminology. So I helped design these sweaters. If you come to the school next year, you should order one because they're super comfy and they're really awesome. So my executive position, I'm the director of careers and volunteers, which is a very big mouthful, but basically what that means is I host different events throughout the year focused on career development, career opportunities, and then volunteer opportunities in Ottawa. So if that's something you're interested in, I can answer questions about that as well. And then I'm also an executive member of the Carleton University Women's Legal Network, which is a new club we started this year to kind of, I guess, help women and trans folks, non-binary folks come together and feel like a sense of community in the field of law because law is still, I think this is changing, but it still is quite like a male-dominated field, so we tried to establish a community there. And I'm the vice president of events for that. So I host like guest panels of like different people in the legal field. We have an event coming up on Monday, actually, which is very exciting. So that's kind of the ways that I've gotten involved. I also work on campus, actually. I'm like an RA. If anyone knows what that is, like the people who live in residence and kind of supervise students. We call them RFs here, so residence fellows, but I know that like sometimes if you're not a Carleton student, you're like, literally, what is that? So if you guys have any questions about residence too, I know it's not really related to this, but I've been doing this for 2 years. And I've seen it all. So if you guys have any questions about that, feel free to ask me as well. I don't know. I think that's kind of all I have. I'm very, very excited that you guys are showing interest in this program. I personally love it. I really do. Most of my friends actually aren't in criminology, which is funny, but they always make fun of me because I'm like the one person who's like super excited about their program all the time. I really do love it here. So I hope that you guys will join us at the Carleton Criminology Institute and that you guys will be as excited as I am. Fingers crossed. So I'm gonna hand it back over and we'll be showing you guys some stuff. And then again, the Q&A session later. If you guys have any questions about literally anything, let me know.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jillian. And like for all of you folks today, we have a big audience right now, actually, who's here with us right now at the moment. I mean, being a student, right? I've been through like the March open houses, the fall open houses, the summer open houses, and like being 24, right? I've already done a degree at Carleton. I did it at engineering. Absolutely love that program. But actually before that in like high school, I was really considering like law and criminology myself. Like I did grade 11 law, grade 12 law. Those are like some of my best courses overall. And even now that I finished engineering, I'm coming back to the Bachelor of Arts to really explore these social sciences. And it's so amazing, as I was talking with Jillian before, that being in the Bachelor of Arts for things like criminology, you have those options to have a lot of overlapping different concepts, right? To really be able to have, minors and different things that you're interested in. For a lot of folks that we're talking to, right, when they're considering these types of programs, they're like, I want to consider this, but I'm also interested a little bit in that. When you have criminology and you can do it with law, with sociology, with psychology, people love to have that chance to really go and explore all these interests together in one major program and have all these different topics to cover. And so it's really great that all of you folks are here today, seeing the video from Professor Monahan and now having Jillian here as well. We have loads of time right now for you to actually ask us what you have on your mind. What are the questions that you folks are wondering? Things that maybe you heard about, things that you're excited about, things that maybe you don't know if it's actually true. Do feel free to let us know. As you're going around and putting your questions in the Q&A, I know a really common question that really comes up from like criminology students, Jillian, is like, can I go and become a lawyer? Or like, how do I get involved in like law school afterwards? People love doing criminology as that stepping stone. It's such a popular question that actually Carleton has a specific page on the website going over this to how you can actually consider this if you want to go in like the criminology legal route. I'll just be posting it here in the chat right now. So the page is at this link over here to kind of let you folks go and explore that. I know I've had tons of my friends go and explore the criminology program. They're loving it. Some people who actually went off into law school, people doing other great initiatives. But with a great big group today, it's your chance right now, our friends. Ask us what you have on your mind. Don't be shy, okay? It's going to be kind of like an anonymous question. So in the Q&A tab, we'll just give you folks a few minutes to really ask us what you have on your mind, different things that you want to go over. If you want to know more about what the society does, what classes are like, Jillian will definitely be the best contact. So I'll give you folks a few seconds right now, a few moments to go into the Q&A tab and just let us know what you want to know about. It's usually such a like one person starts it and then we have a huge roll. So yeah, we got a question right now. Okay, so Jillian, can you get into forensic psychology after getting a degree in criminology? I'll let you answer this first.
Yeah, so you absolutely can. And that's an interesting question because there's a few different routes that you can take actually in Carleton if you're interested in forensic psychology. So the number one, I guess, route is the criminology degree with a concentration in psych. There's two forensic psych classes that are mandatory for all crim students, actually. So I guess I should have mentioned that because I'm in one of them right now. There's Psych 2400, which is like an introduction to forensic psychology. You take that in your second year. And then there's also, criminal behavior is the third year one, and it's more of like an advanced forensic psych class, Psych 3402. I'm in it right now. It's actually really interesting, so I definitely recommend. So that is one way that you can get, I guess, kind of into forensic psychology, is the crim program with the concentration in psych. But what you can also do is go into our psychology program and minor in or concentrate in forensics. So I have one of my best friends, actually, she went that route, but I also have friends who have gone the other route. I think they basically, I guess, result in the same thing, to be honest. I would definitely look just at the different requirements for each of the programs, just to kind of see like which mandatory classes you think will like help you the most. But either of those options is good, and that's definitely something that a lot of people end up going into. So you're in the right spot. But yeah, I would implore you, I guess, to look at both those options, just if one of them, I guess, kind of grabs you over the other. But if you are looking into getting a crim degree, that's definitely something you can do.
Great.
And then
Yeah, and like also for people wondering about forensic psychology, I put in the link in the chat as well to actually see the curriculum involved in that at Carleton for forensic psych. If anyone's interested in doing that, like you mentioned, after getting a degree in criminology. And thanks, Jillian, for the great answer. Spot on. Second question. So you said, Jillian, you were one of the few members of your friend group specifically that was in criminology. So how hard is it to find new friends in your field? I have a few things to say about that, but I'll let you go first.
Yeah. So my experience, I don't know if you guys will have this experience, to be honest. It's kind of I guess my thing. I knew a ton of people in crim first year because you end up, even though the classes are so big, you do end up being in the same class as a lot of people. And I lived in residence my first year, and there was a ton of crim kids. This is a funny story, actually. My can mate, so the person you share a bathroom with, her name is Carly. She's also in crim. And she is the vice president of the Crim Society right now. And we've stayed friends ever since. We're both RFs. So we've kind of been like this. Yeah, so it was definitely easy to make acquaintances. But unfortunately, at the end of my first year, COVID happened. So we all kind of had to flee residence. And I think a lot of people lost a ton of university connections during that, just because I was one of the only people I knew who came back to Ottawa in second year in the fall of 2020 because I had the job as an RF. A lot of people just stayed home. So I think that I would have maybe continued to grow those friendships a little bit more as the classes got smaller and we had our own houses and stuff. But most of the people weren't here. And I know that you guys were in high school probably when COVID happened. So I don't know if you guys necessarily had the same experience, because I know like you're all kind of living in the same town. But it was like a weird kind of, I guess, like destruction of a lot of people's university connections just when COVID first happened, because it was just nothing we'd ever seen before and everyone just kind of like fled back home. Yeah, so I've spent a little bit of time, I guess, like rebuilding that, rebuilding back from COVID. And yeah, that's just kind of the way it happened for me. My friends that I met through being a residence fellow, people are in all different programs, right? Because that's not really what that job is dependent on. So that's why most of my friends aren't in criminology. But I would say it's definitely not hard to meet people in the program. That's not really why I don't have a ton of like close friends in my program. It's mainly just because of the other jobs I did later on and COVID. So hopefully that doesn't happen to you guys. Again, I don't know, but I can't imagine it would. I think, my year just got very unlucky. We got a taste of university and away we went back home. So yeah, definitely, like, I don't want to scare you guys. It's not hard to meet people in the program at all. That's just kind of, I guess, what happened in my situation. So I wouldn't say that it's hard to find friends in your field. It's just hard to, I guess, to bounce back from COVID.
I mean, that's a great response, Jillian. And like, this was just a specific case right now because of the whole pandemic situation. But for like a lot of folks who are wondering, right? I know it's like a legit question. You're like, I'm considering going to like Ottawa with the Supreme Court. They have Parliament where they make the law. Supreme Court to do the judicial side of it. It's the center of all like the criminology stuff. Everything there is going on. But maybe moving that jump, I'm afraid of like finding new friends. My friends, I'm from Ottawa. Okay, Ottawa, as I like to call it. But I mean, I know tons of people who like went into completely different programs, met people from all around the world, not just other parts of Ontario or Canada. And like coming in from like the engineering side and now going back into the Bachelor of Arts, I've seen people in both atmospheres. And to completely reassure you, people want to have that professional networking, to meet with other people for study groups, or literally just to have normal friends the exact same way that you do. And your classes, not only will they have like lectures, but they have tutorial sessions, practice question and answer sessions, discussion groups, specifically to facilitate that. So to reassure all of you folks, like, to be 100% legit, it's extremely easy to find friends. It's just like Jillian mentioned, like her own specific friend group at this time, and like coming from the pandemic is one specific scenario, but definitely feel reassured. Now we have a lot of other questions coming in right now. Really great. Like I said, it's like one person takes a question, then they're all like snowballs. We have lots of time to go over them. So what are class sizes like, Jillian?
Yeah, so I mentioned this a little bit at the beginning, but mainly about my first year experience. All the mandatory classes, I won't lie, they're pretty big because everybody has to take them, and it's not just going to be the crim students. For example, like the law students, they have to take Law 1 and Law 2 also. So there's going to be a ton of law kids. Same with Psych. The Psych kids have to take Psych 1, Psych 2, so you're going to be with all the Psych kids. Same with Soc, right? So those class sizes, I can't lie, like 200, 300 people. I don't know necessarily, again, I don't really know what it's going to look like, but I know that when it's online, you don't really, the size of the class doesn't really matter, right, when it's online. But in person, it definitely does. I kind of like big classes just because I feel like, it is kind of like that classic university experience, right, that people like the big lecture hall and stuff like that. But when you get, I guess, like further on in your degree, you're going to start splitting up, right? So Psych 1, Psych 2, every single crim kid has to take those. There's like 3 different classes. They're all 300 people. Like there's a ton, right? But when you get further on, like there's some classes, I guess an example, I'm in a law class right now. It's a third-year law class. It's called Punishment and the Law. And my program, like my concentration, Soc, we have to pick one of like a list of 3 third-year law classes. We have to pick between 3305, 3306, and 3308. So that splits it up, right? That class, not that big. I would say it's probably like 40 people. It's in person, which is awesome. Yeah, and then some other classes too. Like I'm in a Soc class right now that's called Critical Drug Studies. It's a special topics class. I'm going to plug this class. It's awesome. It's so cool. We're learning about like psychedelics and stuff like that. It's really interesting. Really awesome. It's a special topics class, so it doesn't get run all the time, but it's so popular right now, I cannot imagine they wouldn't rerun it. So if you guys will remember this in 3 years, take that class because it's the best and the prof is awesome. Yeah, so I guess like the core class that everyone takes, they're pretty big, but it's not necessarily like big to a detriment. It's kind of like exciting. And then smaller classes as well, especially like if you start to minor and stuff, like, and you take like weird kind of like obscure classes. Like I'm in Canadian Studies 3600 right now. It's called Cultural Politics and Identities. And it has 18 people in it, plus the prof, so 19. And it's like a little classroom, and we all sit and we all talk about our week, and we know each other all by name. So, you definitely can get like both sides of that, kind of like Jeff mentioned in the video. But yeah, the first year classes, which is what I assume you're talking about, are pretty big. But it's fun. It's exciting. So
awesome. And like also like on the Bachelor of Arts, it's exactly like Jillian mentioned, like the first year courses that like everyone has to take can be a couple hundred, but like me, like getting into like 4th year, like some of my classes have been like high school size, like 20 people, 10 people. My smallest ever was like 5 people. So it really depends on like the specific course and specialization in your standing. And like kind of focusing on like that topic of like course selection and stuff like that. Like we have the questions that kind of organized by like upvotes. And so a popular question coming in, is it possible to major in law while minoring in crim? Answer is yes.
Yep.
And how does the scheduling of your courses play out with a minor? If you want to take a Jillian, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah. So I'm actually I'm pretty well versed, I guess, in some of the other programs just because I have to help my students on my residence floor kind of figure that out a lot. So I'm pretty familiar with a lot of different program components. So law, I'm pretty sure there's only 2 required for first year classes. There's law 1 and there's law 2. That means you have 8 electives. So you're going to have a ton of space for a minor, like a ton of space. I really hope that's right. I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah. So scheduling of your courses, honestly, like it's pretty easy, especially with first year law classes. There's like 5 different times that like Law 1001 runs just because so many people have to take it. So even with a program like Crim, which is so structured first year, you still definitely have space to take a minor. Typically you take 5 classes a semester, which is 10 classes a year. So if you think about it like that, right, Law 1 first semester, you have 4 electives for the rest of first semester. And then you take Law 2 second semester, and then you have 4 electives. So yeah, you can kind of throw in those minor requirements there and you'll still have space for more electives. So don't feel like you're going to be like running out of space or like you're going to be like too crazy busy. Yeah, I hope that answers your question a little bit. But yeah, you can definitely major in law while minoring in crim. There is a crim minor option, which I definitely recommend you guys explore as well if you're not too sure about whether or not you want to do all crim as your degree. Yeah, good question. Thank you.
It's a really good question as well, and like people are wondering about it. Just to give you like a YouTube speed run of how we do like the scheduling system. So, folks, if you're doing the honors programs, that's generally going to be 20 credits long, or basically 40 classes, because one credit is like 2 courses fall and winter. So, in courses like law and criminology, you'll already have many different credits available for taking electives. So if you're wondering, like, if I do a major and add a minor, will that take more time to complete? Not necessarily, because you could take those courses in other departments and fit them into your wealth of available minors and still finish in the time that you had planned. Another question. We have lots of great questions coming in, and we're going to hopefully go and answer all of them. So maybe we'll just try to like answer them a little bit quickly. Question: how long are the classes, and how many classes do you have a semester? So it's generally 5 classes a semester, but as an adult, it's up to you. How long are the classes, Jillian?
3 hours. So a lot of them you can only do in 3-hour increments, which kind of sucks, but you get used to it. I promise you get used to it. And if it's an online class, usually they don't go as long as 3 hours. So that's a little life hack there for you. Even in person, like I have class teachers that are like, I will not speak for longer than 2 hours. Leave, which is, I'm not mad. Sometimes you can get classes that they're twice a week. It's an hour and a half each. I know Psych 1 is sometimes like that, but it's also sometimes not. It kind of just depends on what the profs are doing. But yeah, it's going to be 3 hours. So it ends up being like 15 hours a week, which compared to high school, that's like 2.5 high school days. Right. So it's a lot less class time, but you will not be less busy. I promise you, because you're going to have a lot of assignments, or not even a lot of assignments. There's definitely a lot of writing and papers. I don't know, at least for me, they kind of take me a while. So I guess it really just depends on like how fast you write and how fast you synthesize ideas. But yeah, so it's about 15. It ends up being about 15 hours a week at the most of like actual class time.
Perfecto. So generally, like students, to give you like the quick maths about this, you generally do like a default 5 classes a semester, and each class has 3 hours of lecture time. So that's like what Jillian mentioned, 15 hours in total. Another like question about that, like on like time management, popular question. So is it easy studying criminology, having a social life, and maybe working on campus? I mean, I'm
yes.
full-time. Go ahead.
Yeah, especially like working on campus. There's different jobs you can do. Being an RF, I definitely recommend. It's pretty fun, and you get free residence and free meal plan. So I've been saving a ton of money for a job that's like can be tough sometimes, but it's not that bad. Yeah, and there's other jobs on campus too. Like I know if you work at the residence desk, you can do homework while you're working there, like because you're kind of just sitting there till people come up to you. Yeah, so I would definitely say it is not hard at all to balance all that stuff. Look at all the stuff I'm doing this semester, right? Like all that stuff I just named off. Plus I have like a partner and I have friends, and it can get a little bit overwhelming sometimes with like I guess like midterm season and like exams and stuff, but you're gonna have time. Like I purposely don't ever do work on the weekends. I will not do work on the weekends unless it's absolutely mandatory, and I still manage to get everything done during the week. So, and I wouldn't say that I'm like an expert work ethic person. I'm like pretty just normal. So yeah, definitely there's enough time to do all that stuff, like especially first year. So do not worry about that at all. I was worried about that too, and you do not have to be, because you would. It becomes like you get it gets easier. It gets easier.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And so like a few other questions, like we kind of answered a little bit before. So how many classes do you take? Generally 5 classes a semester. Is this program available for January intake? For people who aren't really sure what that means, generally most people will start a new program coming in the fall, coming in September. There are some programs where you can also begin in the winter, so in the start of January. And yes, criminology is within the Bachelor of Arts, and the Bachelor of Arts is available for January admission. So that question can hopefully be answered as well. I'm trying to focus specifically like on the criminology questions specifically. So I'm just have a few here. What was your favorite class?
My favorite class? Oh my gosh, I literally don't know. Let me think. I actually really love my Canadian studies classes, which aren't related to criminology. But one of my classes last year, we looked about at heritage conservation, which is really cool and interesting. So I really like that one. In terms of specific crim classes, I really liked Soc 1 and Soc 2. Forensic Psych is super interesting too. It's super popular. Everyone takes it. I really love critical drug studies. You guys know I already plugged that. If you're looking into Soc classes, I recommend taking it. This is another special topics class, so no guarantees this is going to be run either, but I'm in a forensic linguistics class right now, which is really cool and really interesting. It's actually run through the Department of Applied Linguistics and Discourse Studies, not Discord. But yeah, so if you guys are interested in that too, that's another thing, right? This is interdisciplinary, so you can look at other like faculties, and sometimes they'll have classes that are technically theirs, but they're related to crim. So that's really, kind of exciting. Gives you, I guess, like a wide kind of range of classes. But yeah, I really like the forensic psych classes. They're so interesting. So I know you guys will like them too. Everyone likes them. So those are some of my favorites. I know we're not going to touch too much on the residence questions, but I will say go to the residence website. You can find all your information there. I know that's kind of not what we're talking about right now, but I noticed like people kind of mentioning it. So all the information you need is going to be on there, especially how to apply to be an RF. Applications usually end up being around like January, February of the school year. And yeah, I definitely also recommend residency for first-year students. It's definitely a great way to meet friends, even during COVID. How do we become an RF? Yep, the same thing on the website. Are programs offered in French? No, programs are not offered in French.
That's a really great question.
I'm like going through all of them. There's so many.
I know there's like a ton of questions here, and it's great that you folks have all these questions. This is specifically what it's for you to ask us what you have on your mind. So the question, are there any programs offered in French? The answer is yes. So although Carleton is an English-speaking institution, all the classes are taught in English. So that's why Jillian was yes. The only classes that are taught in French are the ones that are specifically in the Department of French. Like if I've taken classes in like Latin, other stuff like that. If you take a language course, the language of instruction can be in that language. Do you see what I mean? Like learning French with the instruction being in French. But the majority of the programs, like criminology, is taught in English, like engineering is taught in English. So the answer is yes. The specific programs that are taught in another language is like if you're learning that other language of instruction. So we have tons of like residence questions. I just wanted to let you folks know what I posted in the chat as well. People were wondering about like working as an international student. I have the link over there for you to check out the specific page on that. If you are an international student in residence, then you do get the meal plan as well. People were wondering like, what do you bring into residence, what to pack? It's an extremely popular question. So residence has a specific page on that that I refer to right now in the chat as well. The last link that I put in, you can check that out. There's a lot of questions about being a residence fellow or stuff like that. I want to make sure we can like get time to that to get like Jillian's experience, but I also want to focus more specifically on the criminology stuff. So a question like about the co-op option, if you knew more about it, Jillian?
Yeah, so so in criminology, it's like a field work placement, which is different than like co-op options for like science or business or engineering. Those co-op programs, they're like multiple months at a time, and it's all you're doing. That's all you're doing is just working. My housemate for next year, she's going on co-op in May, and she's not coming back to school for like 8 months because she's just going to be working. And it's a paid position. But in criminology, we have a field placement option, which is it takes a spot of 2 classes, so 1 full credit, and it's a certain number of hours a week. You apply to it based on your grades for the required crim classes. So that's how they decide whether or not like you like get a spot. So definitely try to like, if you're interested in that, again, it's also not mandatory. It's not mandatory. But if you want to do it, I definitely recommend like trying your best in your first year classes. This doesn't mean getting perfect by any means. It's not like I have a perfect A+ GPA. I do not. But yeah, so that's kind of how they decide, like that's kind of how they filter out like applications, because there is only a certain amount of spots. I think there's like 60. There's around 60. It's not paid, which I know can kind of be like, ooh, for some people, but like such good experience, right? And that's another reason why I pick Ottawa, and I think that maybe you guys should as well, just because there's a lot of great co-op options, right? Like some people work for like the general, like the attorney's office. Some people work like at I think the Supreme Court, maybe sometimes, I don't know, like tons of different options that you might not necessarily get from like cities like Guelph or cities like London for Western, right? It's just what the city brings. So definitely something to, I guess, focus on. I am applying for it. I really hope I get it. But again, I don't know yet. I wish I did so I could tell you guys. But yeah, my goal, I really want to work in a like divorce lawyer office. I want to go into divorce law, which is kind of weird. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm interested in. Yeah, I hope that answers your questions. There's also a whole page about it on the Criminology Institute, the ICCJ website, which has really good information. That's where I've gotten all my information. So I definitely, you guys should check that out for sure. And you can also email like the Institute if they have any questions, and they answer super fast. They're awesome. So yeah, definitely recommend. Yeah. I definitely recommend like trying to go for the placement. I know some people just like don't really want to, but it is something that like is pretty unique to our program just based on the city we're in. So definitely recommend it.
Awesome. And like specifically because you mentioned there's a page for the field placement for you folks wondering like what can I do with it? I just posted the link right now in the chat for you to actually go and explore that page in depth. So we covered like almost all of the criminology questions, and then maybe like if we have some time, we can go into the residence ones because it's really popular. You have a current resident student, been here year 1, 2, 3.
Too many years.
3 many years.
Yeah.
So basically, like just like 2 more questions about criminology. So number 1, how much do you love crim? And then like class sizes in second year, not first year. Class sizes in second year.
Yeah, I love it. I hope you guys can tell like the energy that I have for it. I really do find it super interesting. The classes are awesome. And I don't know for sure, but based on my experience, there's very few people who are in crim who are like, I don't really like it. Like everyone seems to like really enjoy it, which is awesome. So yeah, I definitely really like it, and I hope you guys do too. I hope to see you guys next year. And then what should you expect for class size coming to second year? Oh, I don't know, because my entire second year was online, so truly I have no idea. I'm hoping you can answer that a little bit better.
Yeah, for
I know,
sure.
like maybe a bit smaller, but.
So the thing is, my friends, like it depends on what classes that you're doing. I posted in the chat before, like the curriculum actually for criminology and what you can take. So your second year classes are the ones that are at the 2000 level. Things like, for example, crime and society, things, for example, like the criminal justice system. It depends, right? Which class in particular that you're taking, because they come from different departments as well. So it might be a larger class, it might be a smaller class, depending on your cohort. Like some of my second year classes were like I mentioned, high school sized, right? Like 30, 40 students. Some of them were larger than that. It really depends on which one it is in particular. So that's another question going on about that. Some more questions that you're coming in. I'll try to answer some of like the admissions related questions. So people kind of wondering like, how do you know? They keep uploading it. How do you know when you've been accepted into the university? So folks, when you go and apply to Carleton, right, you'll be able to track your application on Carleton 360. 360.carleton.ca. That's where you can go and monitor your application. If your application says, okay, admitted with conditions, that's how you know that you have an offer letter and you have a space waiting for you in the program. It would be called admitted with conditions. If you apply to more than one program, your lower ranked choices might say eligible for admission, meaning that you have the requirements to get into the program. But since Carleton only gives one offer at a time, and that's always for your rank 1 choice, you just need to rearrange your choice order to get an offer for something that's eligible. For the folks who don't have an offer right now at this time, no worries. The majority of offers come out in March, April, and May when you have more marks in high school and more marks and things like that. So we're still relatively early in the process. Just continue to track Carleton 360 for things like that. I think we have like enough time for you to just say like about your RF experiences really quickly, and then we'll call it a day for now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, how do you apply to be an RF?
All and that like balance it with crim.
Yeah, all that information is going to be on the residence website. Usually it's around like January is when you have to apply, and then interviews are around February. For anybody who's like interested, do you get a bus pass including your tuition? Yes. And it's for Gatineau too, which is nice for all you 18-year-olds who might want to go to Gatineau and drink some alcohol. So yeah, it's for Gatineau and Ottawa. Works for that. Yeah, residency, definitely recommend because that's how you're going to meet a lot of friends who are outside of your field. And like I said, a lot of my friends are outside my field, so definitely not something that you want to not have. But also, like, if you're not doing residence, don't worry. It doesn't make a huge difference. But I definitely recommend, just because I've been doing it and I liked my experience. What I recommend bringing, let me look around my room right now. Bring a laundry hamper. That is something I did not bring first year. I regret, because in a lot of the buildings, you have to go down a ton of like elevator floors to get to the laundry room. So bring that hamper, because you're not going to want to just haul random clothes like in your hands, to use the laundry machines. Don't bring a mini fridge, because you're supposed to rent them through the school. So don't bring that. Do bring, I guess, like 3M hooks are awesome if you want to put hooks up for, like, I hang my coats on 3M hooks. So I definitely recommend.
Mm-hmm. Just like being a little bit low on time right now,
Yeah.
for the folks who are wondering about that, there was a specific page that I posted in the chat for you to know about what to pack to residence, because it's a popular question. But other than that, like, you got the general sentiment that being in residence, being in these societies, and like balancing it with your criminology studies is something that's absolutely great. So you folks had a ton of questions. Criminology is always extremely popular. We just went a little bit overboard on the time. But of course, if you do have like more questions, you're more than welcome to email us, contact us, the Criminology Student Society. We posted the links over in the chat. Other than that, do enjoy the rest of the day. Thanks so much for learning more about Carleton today in our March Open House series. We wish you all the best, and we hope to see you at CU in the future. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.